I know stamina is one of your firm favorites. That means, when I say stamina, I mean the article if you haven't read it yet. Stamina, a six-figure Japanese election trade, which was written and traded back in September 2024.
Yeah, so I mean, from a stamina perspective, this is a trader that has been so synonymous with AXIA from a performance, asymmetrical sizing, goes along with the entire name of the publication that you have now weaving into the consciousness of all of our traders. And I must confess, Bogdan, I know we're speaking about the articles, but one of my favorite parts about the Asymmetrist is the email that gets transported into the inbox. And when I see that email, one of my favorite parts is actually reading the email. And the whole reason, it's almost like you create this incredibly eloquent, summarized learning journey before the actual outcome of the performance. So I almost see it, in two segments. Is that email that, at least that's how I interpret it. And everyone's going to interpret the Asymmetrist, uniquely differently. But what I love about the stamina email is, that little phrase, that 0 to 60, that, from first gear to sixth gear, driving that non-symmetrical or asymmetrical sizing, which the Cypriot, the trader where we've shown multiple, seven-figure trades, six-figure trades on our YouTube channel over the years, and unleashing, we just had a retreat in the Bahamas, and unleashing violence, or violent action into the market. And the stamina, I mean, there's so many angles that I've loved to attack. But one of the most important parts that you mentioned in the email before the actual articles, if you signed up to the Asymmetrist, the moment you sign up, you will receive a notification by your inbox, and that email is just its own special gold mine and treasures of learning. And one of the main elements, you speak about his ability to go from 0 to 60, or first gear to sixth gear, and that he doesn't bring his baggage from the past, the non-volatility. He has this uncanny ability, regardless of what momentum, inertia, or past performance, that he leaves his baggage at the door. Like he enters his domain, or if he does bring his baggage in, he galvanizes it in such a way, and you can give me your feedback on this. He galvanizes it in such a way that, regardless of his performance, he's going to ensure that he's going to take opportunity for opportunity's sake. And most people don't take opportunity for opportunity's sake. They take their past, they bring their past, they project their future, and it creates this noise in the moment. And the stamina, I mean, if we look at that of the stamina, the stories of his last seven-figure, not his last, but a seven-figure trade where he came off the boat from Mexico, and he arrived from Tulum in London, and trading, traveling across the ocean time zones. And then all of a sudden, New Year's Trump, the Trump-Iranian assassination, and all of a sudden he's executing a seven-figure trade overnight. And that's stamina in itself, going across planets. So multiple areas of the stamina. And one of my favorite parts of the stamina article and publication is that use of white space. So when he speaks about the Japanese trade, and I actually spoke to Demetrius, and he told me when he read the article, you invigorated, you brought to life when he entered that trade, and all of a sudden, traders, we love it when we enter a trade and it falls off the page, especially if we're going short, falls off the page. And he felt that as he was reading the article, and you started describing his trade, in the stamina article, and all of a sudden he sees, oh, what's all this white space? And it's the drop of the trade. So I wanted to ask you how you use, your delivery mechanisms, And we'll tackle more of the questions that we want to go into. But just want to ask you about your delivery mechanism in cultivating these articles and your underground perspective, especially with regards to the stamina.
Yeah, Alex. No, thank you so much. Look, I think finally I can nerd out about this. Okay, so if viewers forgive me for about 120 seconds, perhaps more, to nerd out about it. Look, I think the written medium, okay, for all the moving into a short form era, moving away from perhaps written to video or written to something else, audio. I still think the written medium, just you can do so much with it. It's kind of like, we've come full circle where much was done in the past, and there's very important, very useful models of how things were done in the past that are just sort of left by the wayside. It's like lost technology on how to make writing resonate powerfully with people. And so it's sort of like, for me, a personal challenge, like, let's say, I'm goal setting, or like thinking about what really motivates me to trade, in the same way what motivates me to write and capture this from just a very self-satisfaction. It's how can I capture a real story in the moment in time and put it through all these different techniques, all these different formats that's going to be interesting and resonate with the reader and force you to actually read it. Like a lot of the time when you read nonfiction, it's like you're there for the message, but you can't summarize it, so you can skip it. And actually speaking to, Demetrius about it, what he also liked about it as well was how the writing and the delivery forces you to also read it in a positive sense, because it's like you can't skip it, because you can miss things, you can. And it's sort of that for me signals that there's depth and interest in the story, rather than just getting the pure details. So it's kind of like the destination is important, like what lessons and conclusions to improve you as a trader. Of course, that's very vitally important. But why not have a really cool journey along the way while you actually read it and actually enjoy the damn thing while you're reading, instead of making you feel like you're reading an academic textbook? And that for me is basically the power of creative nonfiction summarized. I know it's a contentious term for some people, but it's essentially capturing realism, realistic details, realistic facts, and putting them in a way where, as you can see, I kind of make a joke in the article about realism or not, because I think you can keep what's very real and factual and important, and then sort of like shape and form the connective tissue to make the story much more interesting, And how we, I make the joke that we sort of all, you magically appear in the back seat of Demetrius's car. Obviously, if you're going to read that, that I had the separate conversation with you, but I just, I had the device. There's no point breaking up the story that way. Like, might as well just bring you in very naturally, like you're reading an actual story. So that's one. And two, yes, and there's so much you can do. Like, you can be creative with white space. Like, why not just have things flying off the page? Why not have, why not break it from a very like thick, dense magazine Q&A to then the story suddenly changing, and we jump into Demetrius's brain. We see it from his perspective, and then you have that stream of consciousness rundown, and then you want to shift the pace of the writing to make it very like action packed, like for you to see and feel of what it would be like. Hence why as I said, hopefully you'd be short when things melt off the screen, and that's how I did it in that sense. To briefly, that wasn't 120 seconds, but yes. And to wrap that up, actually, I think you're very much a product of what you digest, in this case of my writing and what I was reading at the same time. And readers, again, to nerd out, readers might be familiar with Bulgakov's Master and Margarita, and I was reading it, I think, a few months before I wrote this piece. And I think it's sort of, you can see how it affected me, with just things materializing out of thin air. One of the most powerful things Bulgakov does there is having a very sort of crazy, discombobulating, rip-roaring, set of characters going through Moscow, a set of magical characters, the devil and his entourage. But then we move to a very realistic, almost as if writing about Jesus, Pontius Pilate, his crucifixion. And it's weird how he made the events in Moscow, which are very sort of magical, and then he took the stories of the Bible, but wrote in such a realistic, factual, like historical, like textbook kind of way. And it just makes both just more engaging and believable. And that's how he, from a very meta perspective, engaged both of those mediums. And sort of, again, I'm not equating stamina to the work of Bulgakov here, but I'm just saying it's how one can learn from what came before, and everyone's sort of forgotten about it. And, the lost technology to make things good and interesting are just there.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost creating, and also bring, a medium or a body of work, make it contemporary as well. All these lost mechanisms or technology. As Angus Fletcher always mentions, writing literature is one of the most transformative technologies, and that's the purpose here. Of the Asymmetrist and your work within the Asymmetrist is creating that transformation, because story, literature, narrative, by its definition is action. The cause and effect. And so reading a article such as Stamina, where we also incredibly fortunate to be tapping into an elite 8-figure plus a year trader that getting him on our YouTube channel. We've been fortunate that we've been able to break down his trades over the last decade, to share that with some of the community, and also bring to the industry, an industry that was collapsing in London, of what still is possible from the human trader perspective.